I want to talk about the 5 chord and how the 5 chord and its role in resolving to the 1 chord, how that same pattern can be used to resolve to other chords besides the 1 chord, and can be used as a means of helping build anticipation or strengthen maybe strengthen your chord progressions or add more dynamic tension beyond just the typical set of seven chords that you have with typical major harmony. And so just to refresh, if we're playing the key of G major, the 1 chord of course is G major. The 5 chord would be the 5th interval of the major scale, would be the D, so the D chord. And so theorists have always, or generally all agree, that movement, that the 5-to-1 chord resolution is the strongest of the diatonic chord resolutions available to you. So what I want to show you is that movement, that shift of five interval steps can be applied to the other chords to create some additional chromatic notes that don't belong to the key but still enforce the sound of the key. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you with like a really simple chord progression. So I'm going to take a chord progression that goes from let's say the 1 chord to the 3 chord, let's say to the let's say to the 6th chord, to the back to the 3 chord. So to the minor pretty straightforward. So I want to start adding some color to that, or add a little bit of like more tension to that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to strengthen the resolution to the 1, and the way that I'm going to do that is take that last chord and share it with the 5 chord, that last bar. So I'll end up getting a turnaround that sounds like. Okay, so let's hear what that sounds like. A little bit more dynamic than more dynamic. Is it better sounding? I don't know. Is there more of a push towards the 1? I think so. It's arguable. There's tension in both. Let's see what we can do to add a little bit more tension between the 1st and the 2nd chord. And the way we'll do that is we'll apply what we call the 5 of the 3 chord. And the way that you find that is you figure out where the chord you're aiming to land on. So I know that that's B minor here. want to find the relative 5 chord of that. So it's always a fifth away. So I'm going to play an F sharp major here. It's the 5 of the 3. So that chord actually doesn't belong to the key, but we're only there temporarily as a tool to strengthen the tension in approaching that 3 chord. So let's hear what it sounds like. So I'm going to split that first bar of the 1 chord, and I'm going to borrow half of it to play the 5 of the 3 chord. Okay? This is going to sound like this. So you can see already the chord progression is starting to take on more harmonic complexity. Let's try another variation here. Let's try playing the 5 of the 6 chord, and I think you're going to see something interesting here. So what I'm going to play is I'm going to play the 1 chord, and then I'm going to play the 3 chord, then I'm going to play the 5 of the 6 chord, then the 6 chord, back to the 3 chord, and I'm going to split that last bar by playing the 5 of the 1 chord, which is just a natural 5. So let's see if I can remember that. So let's try that. Let me give that an attempt here. So we got 2. So 1 chord, 3 chord, and what I need to play is the 5 of the 6. So what is that? Well, if the 6 is E minor, then I know that the 5 of that is going to be B major. Let's hear what that sounds like. So what ends up happening is we get So what I'm doing is I'm just introducing, I'm borrowing a couple of beats from the bar and using the 5 of the goal chord I'm heading towards as a means of strengthening that movement. And you don't want to overuse this. You just want to use it to kind of add a little bit more color to what might be an otherwise very like boring sounding progression. And what we had there at the beginning was just simple, like, and it was cool in its own way, but not very dramatic. Pretty plain Jane, not a lot of drama. But if we play the version where we've strengthened some of those movements, especially that 5 to the 6, and then inserting the 5 to the 1, adds a little bit more momentum, a little more of a push, and we can hear it like this. Try that again. So I'll play them side by side here. So I think you can hear that if you start to realize like, hey, it's okay to go outside of the key, that each of those chords in that key, the 1 chord to the 2 to the 3 to the 4 to the 5, they all have their own 5 chords, and they're each of their own independent 5 chords is positioned the same distance away from the 5 to the 1. They're relative. You're always a fifth away, and it's a good device to use. So if you've got a boring progression and you want to add a bit of flavor to it, or you feel like it's just lacking the movement or excitement, or you want to, you know, go from very like non-dramatic to more dramatic, this is a good device to use. I think in my next video I want to talk a little bit about how we can take this idea of building tension and releasing tension, and look at what we call as the dominant chord, which is your 5 chord, and more specifically dominant substitutions, to kind of add even maybe a little bit more color than what we just talked about here. But the same basic theory applies. You know, you're prefixing your goal chords with a 5 chord to coax more tension out of that movement. You're creating instability that needs to be resolved, even if it's not resolving to the 1, but it's resolving to one of the chords in the key that still share the same collection of notes. So these 5 chords have a way of like strengthening, they actually end up strengthening the key sound a lot. So I hope you find that interesting. Comments, criticisms, corrections, kick-me's, that's what I call them. That's where if you want to have if you want to leave like a nasty comment, feel totally free. That stuff doesn't bother me. All right, peace.